43. That's the number of alleged assassination attempts against Vladimir Putin since he came to power. 43 attempts. 0 successes. What you're about to see isn't the story of a lucky man. It's the story of a system, layered, redundant, and engineered from the ground up to keep one person alive. Let's start on the ground, because that's where most threats begin. The car Putin rides in is called the Aurus Senat. At 6.62 meters long, it's closer in size to a small bus than a luxury sedan. The vehicle weighs somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5 tons, a figure that comes almost entirely from the armored materials built into its body and chassis. That weight is significant enough that the engineers had to solve a serious power problem. The solution was a 4.4-liter V8 engine paired with an electric motor, producing a combined output of around 598 horsepower. The top speed, depending on the source, falls somewhere between 210 and 250 kilometers per hour. For a vehicle that heavy, those numbers are genuinely remarkable. The Aurus Senat was developed through a collaboration between Russia's Central Scientific Research Automobile and Automotive Engines Institute, known by its Russian acronym NAMI, and engineers from Porsche. The overall development program reportedly cost around $192 million, though that figure covers the entire multi-vehicle platform, not a single car. The vehicle made its public debut on May 7, 2018, at Putin's presidential inauguration, after years of testing in Siberian winters where temperatures dropped as low as -50 degrees Celsius. The specific ballistic protection rating of the Senat has never been officially disclosed. What is known is that the vehicle can withstand fire from both semi-automatic and fully automatic small arms, and is built to absorb the direct shock of an explosion. The tires are run flat, punctured or shot out, the car keeps moving. Inside the cabin, the details get more operationally interesting. The passenger compartment is fully sealed and equipped with an independent oxygen supply system. If the vehicle were submerged or caught in a chemical environment, the occupants could survive for hours without outside air. The rear compartment is reported to include a large display screen, likely connected to Russian government command infrastructure. According to multiple reports, though none officially confirmed, the vehicle also carries a reserve supply of Putin's own blood type, following a design philosophy similar to the American presidential limousine known as the Beast. But the Senat is never alone. When Putin travels by road, he moves inside a convoy of at least 5 to 7 security vehicles. Hundreds of agents from Russia's Federal Protective Service, the FSO, are deployed along the entire route. Traffic police clear the roads ahead. The perimeter is established long before the motorcade arrives. Now look up. Putin's primary aircraft is a heavily modified Ilyushin IL-96-300, a 4-engine wide-body jet. Its cruising speed is approximately 850 km per hour, with a maximum range of roughly 11,000 to 12,000 kilometers, enough to reach most destinations on Earth without refueling. The standard version of the aircraft has a published range of around 11,500 kilometers, though the presidential configuration carries additional equipment and shielding, which may reduce that figure. The interior has been fitted with a private office of more than 10 square meters, finished with oak paneling and design elements attributed to Porsche's interior division. There is a full bedroom, a gym, and birchwood cabinetry throughout. It is a flying head-of-state facility, not just a transport. The aircraft's defensive systems are, by design, classified. What has been reported through open-source analysis includes radar-absorbent coatings on the fuselage, an automatic radar jamming suite, and infrared and radar decoy dispensers designed to defeat incoming missiles. More significantly, the aircraft is equipped with a wartime command and control communications package. In a crisis scenario, this plane can function as an airborne national command center, the Russian equivalent of the American E-4B Night Watch. Flight plans for presidential travel are classified in advance, and the aircraft is routinely escorted by Russian Air Force fighters, typically drawn from the Su-27, Su-35, or newer Su-57 platforms. If the road and the sky represent the mobile layer of protection, then the Kremlin represents the fixed core. The word Kremlin comes from a Russian term meaning fortress within a city. The complex sits at the center of Moscow, just west of Red Square, enclosed by walls that were partially constructed by Italian architects between 1485 and 1495. Those walls are between 3.5 and 6.5 meters thick. Inside sit 5 palaces, 4 cathedrals, and a series of towers, some open to tourists, others not accessible at all. Since 1991, the Kremlin has served as the official residence of the Russian president. Its security classification is at the highest level of any structure in the country. The Kremlin Regiment, a unit within the FSO with special forces capability, is responsible for physical security inside the complex. Membership in the regiment requires passing an exceptionally rigorous selection process. The ceremonial uniforms are visible and famous, the operational capability behind them is less discussed. Sensors, surveillance cameras, and alarm systems are deployed throughout the complex. FSO agents maintain positions at multiple static posts. Certain towers, including the Arsenal Tower, are considered restricted even by Kremlin standards and are believed to house sensitive state materials. The complex is equipped with counter-drone systems capable of detecting and neutralizing reconnaissance drones or platforms carrying GPS-guided munitions. During events held in Red Square, snipers are positioned on the Kremlin walls and on surrounding elevated points. The institution responsible for all of this is the Federal Protective Service, the FSO. It is separate from the FSB, Russia's domestic intelligence and counterterrorism agency, which is sometimes confused with the FSO in Western coverage. The FSO is specifically a protective service. Estimates of its total personnel range from 25,000 to 30,000 people across all functions. Putin's direct personal security detail falls under an FSO subdivision called the Presidential Security Service. Its total membership is estimated in the thousands, drawn from backgrounds in security, intelligence analysis, and tactical operations. The protection architecture around Putin works in concentric rings. The innermost ring consists of close protection agents, the people you see walking beside him in public footage. The second ring is plainclothes operatives embedded in crowds and public spaces, identifying threats before they develop. The third ring is an intelligence layer, focused on infiltration prevention and early threat detection. The entire model is built around prediction and preemption, not reaction. A threat that reaches the first ring has already passed through 2 prior filters. FSO agents operate under broad legal authority defined by Russian federal law. That authority includes the ability to conduct surveillance operations, detain individuals in certain circumstances, and commandeer vehicles when necessary. In practice, core streets in central Moscow are under continuous monitoring. In some cases, residents of buildings near protected routes are themselves subject to background vetting. All agents carry advanced weapons and wear body armor rated at protection levels 3 through 6. Some carry equipment, briefcases, umbrellas, that may serve dual purposes, including ballistic shielding. And then there is Putin himself. Before politics, Putin was a KGB officer. The KGB was not simply the Soviet equivalent of the CIA. It was a combined intelligence, counterintelligence, domestic surveillance, and enforcement agency, something closer to the CIA, FBI, and NSA operating as a single institution. During the Cold War, Putin served in East Germany in a human intelligence capacity. The specific training he received during that period has never been fully disclosed publicly. What is documented, Putin holds a black belt in judo and is an active practitioner. He hunts and shoots regularly and has been filmed test-firing a range of military weapons platforms, including armored fighting vehicles. These aren't public relations performances in isolation, they reflect a profile that security professionals would describe as a hard target. If every layer of the external system were somehow compromised, the person at the center of it has the training to recognize danger, respond to it, and survive independently. That capability is not incidental. It is the final layer of a system that has, by all available evidence, functioned without a single failure across more than 2 decades and dozens of documented attempts. 43 attempts. The number is unverified by independent sources, and the true figure may be higher, lower, or shaped by what Russia chooses to count. But the architecture designed to prevent a 44th, the armored car, the sealed cabin, the electronic warfare suite 30,000 feet above the ground, the medieval walls, the concentric rings of trained operatives, and the man in the center who was trained to be difficult to kill, that architecture is real, documented, and still in operation today.